It's my pleasure to present to you today our award submission for the CSAE 2023 Awards of Excellence. I'm hoping to share with you today a little bit about how we took the Canadian Society of Club Managers, an exclusive society, and moved it into the 21st century as an inclusive association, now called the Club Management Association of Canada, effectively reinvigorating our member value proposition. So you might be sitting there wondering, why would club managers get together? And what makes a club manager? And how would you define that? I asked myself the same question 6 years ago when I joined CMAC, the then CSCM, as their Chief Executive Officer. Well, let me share with you a little bit about that. If you think about the fact that there are several clubs across the country, all of which are run by general managers, what you might not know is that these clubs, for the most part, run as not-for-profits. So if we think about a city club in Toronto, it could be the National Club, the University Club, the Albany Club. It could be the Terminal City Club in Vancouver, the Petroleum Club in Calgary. Golf clubs, Mississauga Golf Club, St. George's Golf Club. We could be working with Laval-sur-le-Lac in Quebec as an example. Just like CSAE works with associations, we effectively organize the organizers. So we work with clubs that run events and programs for their members, whether it be golf, city, social, could be curling, could be yachting as an example. Each of those clubs runs as a not-for-profit. So those managers are very effective in governance as well as running events and marketing opportunities. They appreciate the opportunity to get together to share information, learn from each other about best practices, but also have that opportunity to vent with each other so that they don't feel so alone as the sole practitioner leading the organization. One thing that really sets CMAC apart is that our members are passionate. We work in an industry where members move from club to club all the time across the country, in fact. So they don't just work with each other as colleagues running from one club to the other. They don't compete with each other in most cases because they're working in markets that would not necessarily have a member that joins a golf club in Hamilton, Ontario, as well as in Toronto. But also, they don't compete with each other, and they may, in fact, rise up through the ranks by having worked with each other at a club prior to theirs that they're in. So we are, in effect, very similar to CSAE. When asked about the statement and highlighting what it is I want to talk to you about today, we really effectively are talking about this multi-pronged exercise where we kind of looked at the history of CSCM, but took that into the future of CMAC. The fact is, this process has been ongoing now for well over 15 years. While we started with general managers working at private clubs, we evolved into the early 2000s and having individuals that reported to the GM being part of the association. So someone like a clubhouse manager or an executive chef. And clearly we needed to change what we referred to ourselves as because the Society of Club Managers no longer was ringing true. But this exercise was not just about that. It wasn't about showcasing simply who our members were, but also recognizing that the longevity of the Society of Club Managers was at risk. We were at risk because our dues revenue had been stagnant for years. We had a complicated membership structure, which many club managers would tell you was built off the back of a club. Well, I can say for certain that we're not a club, so having 14 membership categories effectively did not present us in a great light and made for things to be confusing. And topping it off would be the fact that we really, in our names, were effectively pigeonholing ourselves into a society of club managers. Some previous attempts that we had had in looking at this structure would have been using other levers available to us. We had analyzed dues revenues and membership figures for years. We looked at adding new categories, which was evident by the number of categories. We created discounted member programs, which we manually monitored. Multi-member, small club program, whether it be that Jean-Luc had moved from Toronto to Los Angeles and still wanted to be a member, maybe we would make him a member category on his own. And finally, what we did is we would actually restrict our spending on market-facing activities, not in itself a great exercise for a forward-thinking organization. The process of undertaking this new change involved not just looking at historical membership data, we also conducted member surveys. We asked people about the corporate name change as well as about what the model might look like to get buy-in, to identify challenges and obstacles. We looked at all pieces of the organization, including our national board, but others as well. And we communicated along the way to make sure that our members were aware of what we were doing. This entire process not just looked at a change in the model, a change in the pricing, a change in the CRM system, but also meant that we had to reflect in our bylaws and our policies, the new membership structure, as well as a new logo and brand assets to deliver on this program. This was a huge undertaking. We spent well over 400 hours as a team in conducting this project and probably over $80,000 in delivering it to our membership. And we did so in less than a year. So what went well? I'd love to tell you that everything did. I think our primary learning was to ask for help. We started this process as an organization. Effectively, I started it in working with the board, but we recognized early on into the process that this wasn't just about creating another model for dues revenue, but rather it was about taking all that history of CSCM and making sure that we created an organization that everybody could be proud of, which was CMAC. And knowing that the US organization had done it probably about 2 years before left us some easy footsteps to follow, if you will, based on market changes. Some of the things that went wrong, we probably could have looked at the CRM provider sooner than we did, but they managed to develop a workaround for us, and I would have advised others in the future to rely more heavily on CSAE than we did during this process. We built it and they came, but we weren't ready. That's the truth. We looked at this project and really didn't fully consider the implications of, well, what if it goes right? And it did go right. I'll share with you that in a minute. But we had two parts to this process. One is about the model and the name change. The second is about part two, which is new member support, which is what we're working on now. So in 2022, we welcomed 161 new members. To date this year, it's 149. We have 300 new members of our 661. And granted, some of those may have not been retained in the process, but we've got some exciting changes that have happened as a result. We've launched a new mentorship program, relaunched it in fact, established a D&I board committee, and now we even have board members that are truly representative of our membership, effectively non-general managers. Our next steps are about creating this new member value proposition with better education programming, making sure that those different career levels in the organization are taken care of. And I've got a plan with my team and how we're going to do that. We need to monitor and measure the success of the model And finally, we need to amend the CRM to better capture D&I data analytics. Thank you for the opportunity to share with you about our model today.